Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and today I'm very honored to be inside the lounge at J.J. Fox, the world's oldest cigar merchant in continuous operation in its original premises, over 227 years. I'm joined today by Nick, one of the masters of Habano cigars that is available to customers to help advise them through their process of selecting such incredible instruments of pleasure. Nick, thank you so much for joining me. Of course, J.J. Fox is an institution here in London and around the world. 227 years of continuous operation, not just London's, but the world's oldest cigar merchant, still in its original premises, which I think is mind-blowing. Here on St. James's Street, which in many ways you could say was the birthplace of the cigar culture that we've all come to love here in London.
Absolutely. And to be based just up the road from the Palace, amongst all these gentlemen's clubs and the finest that London has to offer, this really is our home. And to have been here all this time, for over 2 centuries, truly mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible tradition that J.J. Fox is the custodian of. Really, it is, the custodian of this tradition that we've enjoyed. And it's J.J. Fox that throughout time, throughout history, has advised its clients, the connoisseurs of connoisseurs, on their cigar selections, including, as we spoke about in a separate piece, Winston Churchill, but countless members of the aristocracy, of royalty, politicians, titans of industries, and normal connoisseurs such as you and I.
Absolutely. Absolutely, well and truly. Couldn't have put it better.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is an example of J.J. Fox's commitment to that culture of connoisseurship is J.J. Fox's involvement in Bond Roberts, which is a peer-to-peer auction site that allows those interested in acquiring vintage cigars, but in many cases new, hard-to-find cigars, whether that be now standard production, but also regionals and limited editions, the opportunity to buy those online without having to travel to their cigar merchant.
A very special thing. These are particularly sought-after cigars. There are more eyes on these niche production models, these harder-to-attain vitolas, whether they be for regional editions, out-of-production cigars, reservas of any kind, and vintage sticks of all manner.
Yeah. People often ask me, where's the best place to buy cigars? Now, of course, we know the best place to buy cigars is from a cigar merchant like J.J. Fox. But if one is not able to travel to London, I think that Bond Roberts really is the best place online at the moment for several reasons. One being that and the supply shortages that unfortunately we're experiencing right now with Cuban cigars, the reality is that the traditional online merchants have effectively had their inventories dried up. So those cigar websites that one used to be able to go to buy and that would ship around the world simply don't have Cuban cigars anymore. But there's still Cuban cigars in the humidors of collectors, and many of those collectors are putting those cigars available for sale on Bond Roberts.
Absolutely. Where there's a will, there's a way. And these things are still available. You just have to know how to get to us.
Absolutely. That said, of course, Bond Roberts specializes exclusively in Cuban cigars, as does to a certain extent J.J. Fox, right? But you have New World downstairs as well.
We do. We have an extensive range of New World cigars, predominantly Nicaraguan, but then a lesser amount of fine Dominican, Honduran, and Mexican cigars too.
Yeah. Which brings us to these 2 incredibly special cabinets that we have sitting in front of us, which is the first release of a Bond Roberts cigar.
Absolutely.
That you've developed specifically. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit, what these are and the story behind them?
Of course. Bond Roberts, gaining its name from the bond formed between Rob Fox here and Rob Ayala of Friends of Habanos. This passion project has finally come to fruition, having collaborated with Hamlet Paredes out in Honduras. We debuted 2 wonderful vitolas, paying homage to the old 109 or dropped head formats.
Okay.
You know, if you'll recall the original Particus Lusitania adhering to that slightly conical, not quite a bellicoso, far removed from a pyramid, not quite a pareo either, just a slightly rounded head. So we have the 109 and the Petite 109 as well. It's a smaller format.
Yeah. Can we see them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's
Please
do it.
indulge me.
I shall.
And one of the interesting decisions that I was really happy to see Bond Roberts take was the decision to do the 109 in the cabinet of 50. Because the only thing better than a box of 25 is a cabinet of 50. And anyone that is a collector of cigars, the cabinet of 50 is in many ways the unicorn. They age better, they're better in every way, and you feel that with 50 somehow you're not smoking through your box as quickly as a box of 25.
To smoke a cigar from the center of a cabinet is an incredible thing as well. You know, just to peel it out surrounded by its
Do you pull out a bundle of 50 and poke a center cigar before you?
First thing I do.
Do you really? I've never thought to do that. It's like Tetris, you know, poking it out.
It's like luxury Jenga.
This is going to be my new ritual. Because normally with the cabinet of 50, I smoke from the top down. But I've never thought to just jump straight to the best part.
Just knowing it's been aged, surrounded by its other cigars, especially if you have an older cabinet. It's an incredible thing. You know, I love to smell the foot end of that 50 wheel, and just really soak up the aromas. It's an incredible thing.
That's so indulgent, really. Yeah. So let's take a look at this. So this is the 109.
That's the 109.
Right? And
please,
it has that, again, the 109 being a reference to the way that this head is rolled. Now it's associated with the Vitola as well, as being, what would this be, a double Corona? Well, the 109 is unique to itself.
Pre-double Corona, as a Vitola da Salida, the Vitola di Galera for the double Corona now is the Prominentes.
Okay.
So very close in size to that. It's just a slightly different cigar in its gauge and length, but more or less the same smoking time. So 109 is the original factory term, rather than the sales term. So it's the factory term for that Vitola.
Yeah, and this is why you're a masters of Habanos, right? You know, I very much declare that I'm by no means an expert in cigars. I'm merely a curious lover.
Never stop learning.
Well, may we cut and light?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, would you mind cutting? I don't have a cutter, but I'm happy to light myself.
Let's help you out there.
So were these just released?
About 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, about 6 weeks ago now. Just straight to it.
Yep.
Have you smoked this?
I haven't.
Oh, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, but this is why I'm.
Do you know what? I hate using terms like a Cuban cigar, because Cuban cigars have that sort of undeniable sort of must and leather, and there's a bass note somehow there, isn't there? But this has it. While it's mild, it's delicate. Think along the lines of Rafael Gonzalez or El Rey del Mundo. It's that light, clean quality with the complexity.
Yeah.
And the backbone is there.
So there's no question that with Bond Roberts being a website that focuses exclusively on Cuban cigars, that these were rolled with Cuban cigar smokers in mind. How would you describe the blend, and how do you think it relates or compares to a Cuban cigar?
It's a wonderful blend. It's truly symphonic. You know, it manages to have that backbone, that leather, that must, which is fairly associated with Cubans, without the sort of peppery, upfront aspects that can be the case with some sort of Honduran, Nicaraguan, Dominican, and so on cigars. It's a lighter in body stick. I would say light to medium. It evolves very nicely, and for a younger cigar, it's certainly it really possesses a pronounced minerality. It's tannin rich. It's cool. It's delicate. It's almost herbaceous.
Yeah.
You know, but certainly that cedar and that leather up front, that clean tobacco finish.
You know, on first draw, I mean, it is smooth. There is no pepper or tightness or ammonia. I mean, it's a very well balanced first draw.
It feels to me to almost exhibit the tastes and traits of an older smoke, a cigar with some age with it. You know, that no ammonia, that clean, light, flavorful finish, but with depth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, now that you point that out, right? I mean, it does. You know, having just gotten into this, you know, exhibit a lot of those characteristics of an aged cigar, right? That delicacy, that softness, beautiful smoke texture. It's incredible.
I have a major weakness for cigars that have that leather and cedar and that pronounced mineral tone. You know, I knew this was a cigar for me straight away.
Yeah.
You know,
And what's interesting is that, you know, even compared to something like the Romeo and Juliet Churchill, I would say that this is an even softer cigar. I mean, the Romeo and Juliet Churchill, you know, has a little bit of spice to it, right?
It does.
You know, just a touch. And this is, dare I say, even smoother.
I would say so. I would say so. Certainly a touch lighter on the draw. And I've smoked a few of these now, and they're ultra consistent. They're beautifully made. And you'd very much expect that from Hamlet Benedict at this point.
Okay.
You know, he's very much New World and indeed cigar royalty. You know, so who better to collaborate with when you quite literally want to put your name on something? And he was indeed the master blender behind this. So who better to collaborate with?
You mentioned that tobacco is Honduran. Is this a Honduran proto?
Absolutely. Wrapper, binder, and all the fillers.
You know, what's special about the 109 is it's such an interesting example of how, you know, even a seemingly tiny detail, like the difference in the shape of the head, can make a profound difference in the experience of smoking the cigar. You know, there's that little bit of additional shape to the head gives it such a better mouthfeel. And if you're someone,
sits right.
It does, right?
And doesn't that subtle tapering put just enough more emphasis on the wrapper for you to pick up on that a little bit more?
Yeah.
I find that salt comes through really nicely here and provides a really satisfying surface.
Yeah. I mean, I find that, you know, I enjoy kind of playing with my cigars in my mouth and kind of, you know, twirling them or spinning them around. And, you know, the 109 with that additional shape, you know, just sits better in the mouth or on the lips than a drop head.
It really does.
And even a torpedo.
It really does. I think it's just because the curvature is less exaggerated. So it's a subtle thing. You know, I often personally struggle to tune into perfectos.
Yeah.
As I love the encouraged evolution, but find they come to a finish a little sooner than they should.
Yeah.
And that's circumnavigated when you're a bit more delicate about how you do things.
Yeah. And absolutely beautiful, you know, ring gauge. I mean, this to me is just a perfectly balanced cigar in the hand. I mean, I enjoy larger ring gauge cigars, right, on occasion. But I find that, again, if it's too large, if it's too big, it's no longer comfortable in the mouth. You know, this ring gauge, you know, 4850 is the perfect size for the hand as well, right? And so for me, this is what feels most comfortable.
And indeed, with that subtle tapering, it feels as if you're smoking around sort of 46 gauge. So you get that sort of Corona Gorda-ish kind of physical feel to it.
Absolutely.
But then that breadth of flavour that the larger ring gauge is able to provide without it feeling cumbersome. Like you said, it sits a certain way.
It sits a certain way.
It's just right. So the 109 and the Petite 109, same blend for both. You're definitely talking a 90-odd minute smoke with the larger model.
Yeah.
And I've gone for the Petite. So around an hour or so smoking time there, but why rush these things?
Yeah. And I love the Petite 109 and allowing everything it is that one loves about a 109 without a commitment to an hour and a half or 2 hours of smoking.
And you genuinely get the same evolution. It just takes you through those chapters a little quicker.
Yeah, that's
Not just the cliff notes, it's everything.
So of course, for Americans that can't purchase or enjoy Cuban cigars, technically, can they purchase these on J.J. Fox's website and for you to ship them into the United States?
Absolutely. It's not a problem at all.
Amazing. Well, it's exciting to see, these new cigars being released into the market that are familiar to a palate that has grown up on Cuban cigars. I mean, of course, with the price increases of Cuban cigars, which have been in some cases been astronomical, combined with a very tight supply at the moment, has made them increasingly difficult to come by. And so, new releases like this, really drawing on the incredible tobacco that's coming from other origins, but blended in a way that is familiar to a Cuban palate, is quite exciting and something that I certainly celebrate and welcome.
Truly, as do we all.
Yeah. And so how much are these for sale at?
The larger 109 is £38 per stick.
Okay.
And £31 for the Petite model.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite between the two of these?
No.
No.
It's a matter of commitment when it comes to these things.
It's
And
merely a
generally
matter of
I would
allocated
rather
time.
smoke a longer cigar. So if I had the choice, I would be smoking the 109, the Linear number 109, whenever possible.
Amazing. Well, Nick, thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for opening these incredible cabinets, and more than all, thank you for sharing this incredible 109 in the historic J.J. Fox Smoking Lounge upstairs.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.